Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this crochet hook storage case. So for this hook case that I made, I used a variety of yarn, but today in this video I'm just going to be showing you how to make it with two different colours so that it just makes it a little bit easier to follow. So if you wanted to know all the original yarn that I used for the first hook case that I made, this one here is the Stylecraft Special DK yarn in the colour Sandstone. This one here is the King Cole Bramble yarn in Heather. This purple one here at the back is the Devanti Glitter yarn. This is from the range. This brown yarn here is the Women's Institute yarn from Hobbycraft. I think this is just in the colour brown. This red yarn, I think, I'm taking a guess because I threw the label away, but I'm pretty sure it's the Stylecraft Special DK yarn in the colour Claret. And this yarn is the James C. Brett Marble DK yarn in Green Mix. I got this on Hobbycraft. And this cream yarn that I used, I can't actually remember specifically where this is from, but any double knit yarn, honestly, in the colour cream will work. Okay, so here are the two colours that I'm going to be using today. Like I said, I can't remember where I got this cream one from, but any cream double knit yarn. And then I've got this Signet Pato Baby double knit yarn. This is in the shade Mint. I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook today for the main part of the hook case, and a 3mm hook today. You're going to need some embroidery thread and a needle. You're also going to need some scissors, a tapestry needle, and you'll also need a button. Now this is optional, you don't have to even have a fastening on your crochet hook case. You could just literally have it as like a big flap and it just folds over, but I will show you how to sew the button on if you do want to use a button. You also don't have to use a button necessarily. You could make some sort of applique, or you could make some sort of knot and make that into a ball and make that like a button that you've made yourself. If you go onto my Crochet Daisy book sleeve video, I show you how to make a daisy that's basically like a button for fastening the book sleeve. So if you want to maybe try that, I will link that video down below. But yeah, let's just get on with how to make this. I also just thought before I would start, I would explain exactly what order we're going to be making everything in. So we're going to start off with the actual main shape of the crochet hook case, which is just this big rectangle. So I'm going to be making this panel first, and also this panel first, well, second, but yeah. And then I'm going to be moving on to making these little pockets for the hooks, and then I will be making these pockets here, this little like envelope pocket and this pocket here, and then we will make this little fastening loop thing, and then when we attach everything, we will attach every pocket onto this panel here, and then we will attach the front panel to the whole of this back panel, and then we will make the edges this sort of like flowery lace edge. That'll be the final step, and then just sewing on the button and sewing on this little fastening flap, and then that's pretty much the order of everything that we'll be making it in. Okay, so to start the case, we're going to be making the moss stitch. So I'm going to chain an even number of chains that is going to match the width of this. So this crochet hook case measures across 9 inches, and it measures 8 inches tall. So for me, 40 chains works perfectly to fit this. So if you want to make the same size as me, it will be 40 chains plus an extra 4 because we're doing the moss stitch, so 44 chains technically. If you want to make it bigger, you can add more chains, but it needs to be an even number plus 4. So I'm going to chain 40 now. Okay, so I have my 40 chains, and now I'm going to chain an extra 4 for that turning chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for the moss stitch, you start off by making a single crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this one here. So I'm going to make a single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1, skip a chain and single crochet into the next chain, chain 1, skip a chain and single crochet into the next chain, chain 1, skip a chain, single crochet into the next chain. And I'm going to do that all the way to the end of the row, so we'll come back when that is done. So I've just reached the end of the row. So we're going to repeat that process now for as many rows as it takes to get to 8 inches tall. So for row 2, I'm going to chain 2, turn the work, I'm going to single crochet into that chain space here where my finger is poking through. I'm also going to weave in this end as I'm doing it. So it's this space here, single crochet, and then it's the same process as before. Chain 1, this time we're going to skip the single crochet stitch that we made, and we're going to only single crochet in the chain spaces. So single crochet, chain 1, skip this stitch, single crochet in the space, chain 1, skip that stitch, single crochet in that space, and I'm going to repeat this all the way to the end of the row. Okay, so I've just reached the end of the row, so I just made that last single crochet in that chain 2 space, and then when you reach the end of the row again, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, and you're going to repeat row 2, like I said, for as many rows as you need for it to reach 8 inches tall. Again, if you want your hook case to be taller, you just do more rows. But yeah, I'm going to come back when my panel has reached 8 inches tall. Just going to fasten this off, chain 1, and cutting the yarn. I ended up doing 37 rows of the moss stitch, and now I'm going to make a second panel, and then I will come back when that panel is finished and we can start on all the little pockets. So I've just finished my second panel, so I'm now going to be making the little pockets for the hooks. I'm going to be making 2 in green and 2 in cream. So I'm going to start off with the green just to show you how to make each little pocket. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot, and I'm going to be using the 3mm hook now. I'm going to place the slip knot on the hook, and then I'm going to make a chain of 6. Okay, that's your chain, and then I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So So I'm going to yarn over, insert the hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on the hook, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. I'm going to do that in each chain. Okay, so I've now reached the end of the row, so you should technically now have 5 half double crochets, because that first one we done in the second chain from the hook. So now I'm going to start row 2, so I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work, and I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into each of the 5 stitches, and I'm also going to weave in this end. So that is what your row 2 should look like. Okay, so I'm going to continue this process of chaining 1, turning the work, and then making a half double crochet into each stitch until I get to 19 rows. So I'm now starting row 3. Okay, so I've just finished row 19, so now I'm just going to chain 1 and fasten off, and I'm going to leave a long tail for sewing. And I'm just going to pull that through. Okay, so I'm now going to make another green one of these, and I'm going to make 2 cream pockets of this, so I will come back when I've made all 4. Okay, so I've just finished my 4 hook pockets, so I'm now going to move on to making this large pocket for scissors. I'm going to use contrasting yarn for this. I'm going to use the cream yarn. Okay, so I've got my cream yarn and my 3mm hook, and I'm just going to make a slip knot and attach that to the hook, and then I'm going to make a chain of 14. Okay, and then I'm going to make a half double crochet just like before for the hook pockets in the second chain from the hook. Half double crochet and a half double crochet into each chain across the row. So I've just reached the end of the first row. So now I'm going to chain 1, turn the work, and I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into each stitch across the row, and also weaving in this end. So that is the end of row 2. I'm now going to chain 1, turn the work, and repeat the same process until you have done 14 rows in total. Okay, so I've just finished the scissor pocket. I actually had to change the yarn that I was using because I was running out, so I've changed the yarn to this kind of pearlescent sparkly kind of yarn. So I'm just going to now fasten it off, chain 1, and I'm going to leave a long tail for sewing and just cut that. Okay, so for this button pocket, I'm basically going to be making 2 panels. So the first panel is this section here, and the second panel is this section here plus the flap. So I'm going to start off with the smaller one. So I'm just going to take my cream yarn and my 3mm hook, and I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to make a chain of 12. Okay, that is the chain of 12, and then same as before, like we did with the scissor pocket and the hook pocket, we're going to be doing rows of half double crochet. So I'm just going to half double crochet into the second chain from the hook and then into each chain across the row. So that is row 1 done. I'm going to chain 1, turn the work, and then make another row of half double crochets and weaving in this end here as I'm going along. Okay, so I've just reached the end of row 2. I'm going to repeat this now for 3 more rows, so you should end up with 5 rows in total. Okay, so here's now the 5 rows of half double crochet done. I'm going to fasten this off now and leave a tail for sewing, and then I'm going to make another one of these 11 half double crochets and 5 rows of that, and then I will come back when I've made another one of these. Okay, so I've just finished this second little square rectangle shape 5 rows of half double crochet. So I'm now going to move on to making the decreases for this flat part. So we're going to be making 3 rows of a decrease. So I'm going to show you how to do the decrease. So you're going to chain 1 and start row 6, turn the work, and then you're going to make a half double crochet decrease stitch. So you're going to yarn over as normal, go into the first half double crochet and pull up your loop to make 3 loops. You're then going to insert the hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and you should have 4 loops on the hook, and then you're going to yarn over all through 4 loops, and that is your decrease stitch. So you're going to then make 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and then you're going to stop when you get to the last 2 half double crochets here. Okay, so here is the last 2 half double crochet stitches. So you're going to make another decrease there, yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, and then insert the hook into the last stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that is your decrease stitch. So I'm going to repeat that for 2 more rows. I'm going to chain 1, turn the work, make a decrease, crochet along until I get to the last 2 stitches, make that decrease, and that will be row 7, and then I'm going to repeat that for row 8. So I will come back when I have finished row 8. Okay, so I've now finished row 8. I'm going to do the last row now, which is row 9. I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work, and this is where we'll be adding the buttonhole for our flap. So you can see here I've made a buttonhole. So you should have now 5 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to make a half double crochet into the first, a half double crochet into the second. We're then going to chain 2, skip the next stitch, and then make a half double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to make another half double crochet into that last stitch. Okay. Okay, that is the flap done. So now you should see that when you add your second one on top, that you create this kind of like envelope shape, and then you can put any buttons inside there, and then you can pull the flap down to secure it. Okay, so the last thing that we need to crochet is this flap. So I'm going to use my cream yarn for this. I'm going to make a slip knot on my 3mm hook. I'm going to make a chain of 5. Okay, and just like we've been doing this whole time, I'm going to be making rows of half double crochet. So I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then 1 in each chain. Okay, so it should look like that. And then I am going to chain 1, turn the work just like before, same process, and make another half double crochet into each stitch. Okay. Okay. So that is row 2 all done. I'm now going to repeat this for 4 more rows, so in total you should have 6 rows by the end. So I'm just going to come back when I've done 6 rows in total. Okay, so here is what it should look like once you've done 6 rows. So now I'm going to neaten the edges by making a single crochet around the border. So 1 single crochet in the spaces around this piece that we've made. And then once I reach this corner here, I will show you what to do. But yeah, I'm just going to make a single crochet into each area. So it can be quite hard to see because obviously these stitches aren't, they're not really stitches, they're kind of like side stitches, but yeah, I'm just going to try my best and go into any space that I see, and I'm just making a single crochet. So this is where you should be at when you have done your single crochets around the border. I did end up doing 16 and I stopped just before the top of our work where that turning chain is. So I'm now going to make a single crochet into that turning chain. I'm then going to make another single crochet into that half double crochet stitch, and then I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip the next stitch and I'm going to make a single crochet into the one after the one we skipped, and then I'm going to make a single crochet into that last turning chain. I'm then going to make a slip stitch back into the original single crochet we first made. So it should look something like this. You might have to pull up your chain 2 that you made to kind of get to see it, but yeah, now I'm going to just chain 1 and fasten off, and I'm going to leave a long tail for sewing. Okay, so now we're at the point where we want to sew everything together. So I'm going to remove one of the panels that we made because we only need 1 at the minute, and I'm going to lay it flat, and I'm going to position all of the little pieces that we made in the exact same positions that I did for this one. You can obviously swap yours about and change it. If you don't really like this design, you could do whatever you wanted, but I'm just going to do the exact same just so you can see exactly how to sew it down. Now I'm going to sew all of these things down. I'm going to start with my hook pocket. So take your tapestry needle and the yarn tail, place it down exactly where you want it. I'm going to put mine right on the edge. You are only sewing the side, the bottom and the other side, and you're leaving this top part open so that you can put your hooks in. And I'm just going to sew in like a spiral motion. So I'm going to insert the needle into one of these green stitches here and also into the top of the cream pocket. Just pull that through, and then I'm going to literally just repeat that same process. I'm going to go into another space, loop on the green and a loop on the cream pocket, pull through, and that's pretty much it. You just want to pull tight and then repeat that, going in to another loop and pulling through, going into another loop like that, pulling through. So I'm going to do this all the way around the pocket, and then I'll show you how you can weave in your end once you reach the top here. Okay, so I've just finished sewing up this edge, and I've reached the end now, so I'm going to show you how you can knot it and fasten off. So I'm going to make a few loops to kind of fasten that, like that. And I'm going to make sure that I'm sewing on the inside, so I'm going to just flip this so you can see. I'm going to kind of open the inside of the pocket, and you're just going to make a double knot in the inside of the pocket. So I'm just going to pick up a few loops on the inside like that and pull through and leave a loop, and then go through this loop and pull tight to make a knot, and I'm just going to repeat that in the same spot, and then tight. I'm just going to weave that in a bit, like that, and then you can cut the yarn, and that is all fastened. There is the pocket all sewn on. So I'm going to repeat this now for all my other hook pockets, and then I will come back when that is all done. I'll show you how to sew on the scissor pocket and the button pocket. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you've sewn on all of your hook pockets. I'm now going to repeat the same thing for this scissor pocket. So yeah, it's just the same process as before. Sewing from the green loop into the cream loop, and then back into the green loop and back into the cream loop, all the way around till you get to the end. And I'm going to stop at this corner and then fasten off. Okay, so now for the pocket, you're going to want to take your back panel with the buttonhole and place it where you want it, and make sure that the flap doesn't come above the green part. Make sure that it's tucked in. And I'm going to neaten this edge just by sewing in the same method as before, out and over. I'm going to do this until I get to this corner here, like that. Now you've reached this corner, you're going to sew down the side, across and back up, and stop here, because then you will have your flap all done. So I'm going to come back when I've sewn down the side, across and back up. Okay, so I've just reached the corner, and I've made sure that I've made my last loop to come round, so clockwise, and as you can see there, it is now in the right direction. So I'm now just going to fold the flap down and sew a loop from here and a loop from here, and I'm going to go all the way across. So now I've just reached the end, I'm just going to fasten off. So I'm going to bring it back to the inside and just double knot it. And then just weave that into a few areas to fasten it. Like that, and then you can cut it. Okay, so for the front panel, you're going to want to sew this directly on top, and you're going to sew with the same method. You're going to join this side seam with this side seam across the bottom and back up, and then you're going to secure it with a double knot here and then weave in the ends, and then that is your pocket all done. So I'm going to come back when the pocket is all sewn, and then I'll show you how to sew a button to the pocket. Okay, so I've just finished sewing on the second panel of the button pocket, and I'm now going to sew on this button. So I'm going to take my needle and embroidery thread. I'm just going to cut a length of that off, and I'm going to double knot one end. Okay, so I'm just going to place the button directly below the second flap that we just sewed down, and I'm going to go through the back of the cream panel and into one of the buttonholes. Like that. I'm going to pull through really gently, and then I'm just going to go into the second buttonhole. Make sure that it's still positioned straight. Like that. Then go through the other side and pull tight. And then I'm going to go back through the back and back through the hole. And I am pulling tight, but I'm also pulling fairly gently because obviously the embroidery thread is very, very thin. And then I'm just going back through. I'm just going to repeat this as many times as I need to until this is secure, and then I'll show you how to fasten off. Okay, so once your button is secure, you're going to fasten off by making sure that your embroidery thread is now on the inside of your flap, and then you're just going to make a double knot. And then you can just cut the thread. And that is the button pocket all done. Okay, so I've just finished attaching all of my pockets to this panel, and now we're going to join the two panels together. So you're going to want to make sure that your panel is facing the right way up. So that's the right way up for me. And then I'm going to place them together, making sure that both of them are the right way up. So like this. So you have your neat side on the outside as well. And then I'm going to take my 4mm hook and my green yarn to attach them together. I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm just going to insert the hook into, you can insert the hook anywhere, wherever you want to start, but I'm just going to go in the corner. So I'm going to insert my hook in the corner of the first panel and in that same spot in the second panel. So you should have them both attached on your hook, and grab your slip knot, pull it through the loops, and then just chain one to make sure that that is secure. And we're now going to be making single crochet stitches all down the seams. So I'm going to go down this side, across, back up, and then across again to where I am right now. So I'm just going to be making single crochets. So I'm just going to insert the hook into a space for the first panel, and then into a space on the second panel, and make sure that it's all lined up. I'm also going to weave in this end while I'm here, and I'm just going to make a single crochet in each space that I can see, and I'm just roughly kind of making sure that it's lined up as well, and I'm just kind of going into any little loop spaces I see. It's not really like a proper stitch, so don't worry too much about it being all the exact same and super neat, because it's just kind of like a rough guide. So you can see here that they're being attached. So I'm just going to continue this all the way around. So I actually lost the footage at the point where I'd finished attaching both of the panels together, but basically the last step was just once that you reach that corner again, you just need to slip stitch back into that first single crochet and then fasten off, and then you can just weave in the ends there. Okay, so we're now going to work on this kind of floral edge detail. So I am now going to be flipping the hook case the other way around. So I'm going to be using the 3mm hook, and I'm going to make a slip knot with that. And I'm going to be starting in the top right corner. You can start wherever you'd like, but I just find it easier to start kind of in the same spot. So obviously we have our single crochet edge that we've done, and we're kind of working in the back of that. So I'm just going to make the slip knot, and I'm going to insert the hook into that corner, and then I'm going to attach the slip knot, pull through, and then chain 1 just to make sure that it's attached. Okay, so for the first corner that I'm going to do, I'm going to make a chain of 3. So I've already made a chain 1, so I'm going to chain 2 more. I'm going to slip stitch in the exact same spot that I just I'm in. Okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next single crochet like that, and a chain 5, and slip stitch in that same spot. Okay, and then that is your second like petal done. I'm going to slip stitch into the next single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to chain 3, and slip stitch in that same spot. So as you can see, that is how that kind of floral half flower thing is created. And I'm now going to leave a gap of 3 slip stitches between each flower. So I'm just going to call this whole thing a flower. So each petal is 3 chains, 5 chains, and then 3 chains, and then a space of 3 slip stitches, and then in the 4th we will start another flower, and then you're going to want to repeat that all the way around. So I'm going to show you again. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next 3 single crochet stitches, and then I'm going to start the next flower. So that's a slip stitch, a chain 3, slip stitch in the same spot, slip stitch into the next space, chain 5, slip stitch into the same spot, slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch into the next spot. And then we're going to again repeat that, so slip stitching into the next 3 spaces, and 3, slip stitch into, I'm going to start the flower again, so slip stitch into the next space, chain 3, slip stitch into the same spot, slip stitch into the next spot, chain 5, slip stitch into the same space, slip stitch into the next spot, chain 3, slip stitch into that same spot. Okay, so that is how that edge is created. So I'm going to continue this all the way around, and I will meet you back when I reach this corner, and I will show you what to do then. Okay, so I've just reached the end of the edges. So I've got my last flower that I've made here, and then I've got a gap of 4 stitches left. So I'm just going to slip stitch into each of them. Obviously normally it would be a gap of like 3 and then I do another flower, but I'm just going to slip stitch into the last 4 just to make it easier. And then I'm also just going to slip stitch into the first chain that we made of that first like petal, like that. And then I'm just going to chain 1 and fasten off. And then I'm just going to use my hook to weave in those ends. Okay, and that's the edge all done. So the final step is to sew on our flap for the button. So I only want to sew this edge to here. So I'm just going to quickly weave this tail down to the bottom of where I actually need it. And then I'm just going to place it centrally along here. So I think this is looking pretty good, and then you can kind of go over like that. So I am going to just line that up there. I'm going to turn so you can see how I'm going to sew this. I'm going to just sew in a spiral motion, just like we've been doing before, into this green space in here. Pull through. Then I'm going to go back into that same stitch just to make sure that it's secure. I'm going to go over it a few times just to make sure that that side is definitely down. Okay, I'm going to go into the next stitch, and then I'm going to pick up a loop from the green part of the panel like that. Okay, again back through the stitch to just make sure that it's secure. Like that. Okay, I'm going into the next stitch, and then picking up a loop of the green, and back into the stitch, and back into the green. So I'm just going to now bring the tail into the inside of the flap. I'm just going to weave it into a few areas to make sure that it's secure. Okay, and then I'm just going to double knot into a space here. I'm just going to, as we've been doing before. And then we are going to now sew the button on. So I'm just going to take my needle just to mark roughly where the button should go. So I think it should go about here. Okay, and then the button is all secure. Okay, so there you have your hook case. So I'm going to pop all my things in there, and then I will show you how the final outcome is looking. thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. If you have any ideas of what you'd like me to make next, feel free to leave those in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!